Developed by Naughty Dog and released on June 14th, 2013, The Last of Us is a post-apocalyptic horror suspense thriller. The game begins with protagonist single father Joel and his young daughter Sarah, celebrating his birthday at their home in Austin, Texas.
Late in the night, the news begins to go off the hook. Joel kills his neighbor Jimmy, and the city plunges into chaos. After a quick and breathtaking romp through the city, Joel decides to take a left turn towards a safe zone where he is rejected by the army. Cut to 20 years later.
And we're not even joking. The game literally goes from Austin's destruction to 20 years into the apocalypse in the blink of an eye, leaving you, the player, both stunned and confused at the same time.
We pick back up with Joel living in a quarantine zone in Boston with a fellow refugee named Tess. Here we are shown the effects that 2 decades of the apocalypse have had on society. Low food, anti-establishment sympathies, and martial law. Don't stand too close or they will shoot your ass. In the 20 years since we've seen him, Joel has picked up a sweet gig as a smuggler, taking weapons, drugs, and really whatever the fuck he can get his hands on outside the quarantine zone. Joel's smuggling gig is how we're introduced to the horrible effects of the fungal virus on those that are infected, and the basics of combat and strategy within the game.
Scavenging is vital. Pieces of scraps such as bandages, medkits, scissors, and rubbing alcohol can be crafted into useful weapons and healing items that each have their own uses in combat. Some, like Molotovs and nail bombs, can cause widespread damage at the cost of noise, while melee weapons such as the Shiv will allow one-hit stealth kills on enemies, but more importantly, allow access to certain rooms with incredibly useful goodies.
The most valuable things to find out in the world are survival supplements. Coming in the form of pill bottles or plants, these points allow for Joel to upgrade a number of different attributes. We recommend upgrading health, hearing, and shivs first. Most items can be easily missed. Searching every nook and cranny of each area is in your best interest, especially later on in the game and at higher difficulties where items are purposely scarce and gameplay is ruthlessly difficult.
Scattered among all levels are items from the living. These collectibles are not necessary to move forward in the game, but allow a nice delve into the lore of The Last of Us, along with a few trophies for searching every piece of information and hearing every conversation.
Just as important as their craftable counterparts, scavenged spare parts can be used at workbenches to upgrade your weapon stats. Weapons such as the bow, sawed-off shotgun, and flamethrower each gain much appreciated upgrades through these crafting tables that help greatly in combat situations. And boy oh boy do you want these skills and items for combat. Most encounters with enemies can be circumvented by sneaking and using Joel's listening ability, allowing enemies to be seen through cover, and through carefully thrown bricks or bottles that can distract or harm both the living and infected alike.
Living enemies usually have weapons that make running and gunning or melee hits dangerous. Well-placed brick throws can distract them long enough to get in position and make the kill, with headshots being your best bet for survival. The infected are a bit more complicated and require a little bit more strategy. Runners will attack if they see you, but clickers use echolocation to spot you when you make too much noise. One hit and clickers will eat the shit out of you, barring the recommended upgrades to your Shiv. The final type of infected are bloaters. These gargantuan infected throw spores at you before charging in for a devastating hit. Molotovs are recommended against them, as the splash damage is considerable. Defeating the infected is not always necessary, as many of the combat areas can be completely skipped if taken with care, precision, and silence.
The game's mechanics are amazing, but the true beauty of The Last of Us comes from its story. For the sake of spoilers, we won't mention too much. After fighting to retrieve their weapons, Joel and his partner Tess end up being roped into smuggling a girl named Ellie out of the quarantine zone to meet up with a rebel group known as the Fireflies. The relationship between Joel and Ellie grows during their year-long journey from Boston to Colorado, engrossing the player more and more into their world and their struggles. The countless moments in between fighting and sneaking remind you that these are characters coping with as much as surviving through the apocalypse.
The story can be replayed after completion on any difficulty at or below the one completed, with the player retaining all weapons and skills previously obtained, plus grounded difficulty, which strips you of your listen mode and gives you almost no extra supplies. The DLC included in the remaster, Left Behind, highlights Ellie's backstory through flashbacks and adds another layer to her character, in addition to filling in plot points not included in the original game. Playing through the game also allows you to unlock currency that you can then turn around and spend on different skins for your characters, filters, and more.
Multiplayer is broken into 3 different game modes. Supply Raid is a simple 4v4 team deathmatch with parts and supplies scattered about each level to aid and upgrade the players. Survivor, like Supply Raid, is a 4v4 team deathmatch with no respawns. While Interrogation is a more strategized saboteur/search and destroy game type mode, where interrogating enemies allows for opposing teams' lockboxes to be located and open for victory.
Outstanding story,
beautiful level design,
underrated multiplayer,
wonderful sound design,
and solid gameplay. The Last of Us is a game that no PS3 or PS4 owner should be without, and is worth picking up and experiencing whenever you have the chance. This has been Austin,
and Kyle for The Lone Few.
and this is why you should play The Last of Us. It's fucking phenomenal, you know?